and welcome to Rolling with Reviews. I'm Will, and with me is the cleverly disguised penguin herself,
Sarah.
And today we're checking out a review of Neko Harbour. Sarah, tell us a bit about this game.
All right. In Neko Harbour, players are planning their travel around the Antarctic Peninsula. There are 2 rounds. Each round has 2 phases. The first phase is drafting cards, and the second phase is playing those cards to a row and resolving the row in order from left to right. The player with the most points wins the game. So, Will, why did we get this?
So, Sarah was checking out a video from Antoinette from Good Owl Games. And what was the video?
So it's her Would You Rather series, where she takes 3 games from her collection randomly and decides which one she would keep or buy, bin, or borrow. That's what it is.
Right.
Yeah.
And so she was telling about the game that's called...
A Pleasant Journey to Neko.
Yes, so not this game.
Which was a bigger board game.
Right.
And that one looked really interesting because it was like a tableau builder with action selection and dice. And you're going around the Antarctic and, you're looking for different types of penguins. And you're trying to be ecological about it and not produce a lot of pollution.
But there's a problem.
Yeah. Couldn't find it.
Yes, it's not very readily available. No. So she did mention that there was a card game based off of it.
Yeah.
She hadn't played it, so this isn't even a recommendation from her.
Nope, we just decided to give it a try.
Yeah, because if the base game sounded that good, hopefully something would rub off on Neko Harbour, and that's why we checked it out.
Yes. So, let's move on to what we like about the game. The iconography is very good and clear. It's very crisp graphic design choices.
Yeah, it actually doesn't really overclutter anything. In fact, sometimes it has almost too much empty space.
Yeah.
At times. The other thing we really like is one of the mechanisms. When you play a card, you're building out your harbor. Now, when you do that, you'll go back to the start of your harbor and activate every card that you've played previously. So just by continuing to play the game, you actually do feel like you have more abilities because, well, you do.
Right.
And you can see it build up.
Yes.
So that's a really cool mechanism to see in the game.
Agreed. The downside is that's all we like about the game.
Yeah.
Let's move on to what we don't like about the game. So, it's a logic puzzle. There is a best way to play and many, many worse ways to play. So there's certain kinds of cards you need to draft. Fuel cards are a must because you have to be able to move your boats. And then you need some way to upgrade them. And there are 2 ways to do that. So you either need shipyards or licenses to do that.
Yeah, the whole driving mechanism behind this is moving ships. They don't give you any sort of fuel to start out with. You actually have to draft a card that has fuel and be able to activate it. If you don't get one in the draft, you might as well not play the game.
Yes, it's really unfortunate. Now, the good news, at least with a 2-player game, you're more likely going to. But I guess if you really don't recognize the importance of it, your opponent could get them all as well. I think I'm a bit more worried about higher player counts with that happening.
Yes, which is honestly where I'd probably recommend this game.
Yeah, because when it comes to a 2-player game, there is not enough variance in the cards. There's 32 cards that you play with total, but they're broken into 2 sets of 16.
For period 1 and period 2.
And then the draft is broken in half. So you randomize the 16 cards, deal out 18 in a face-up grid.
Well,
and
8.
8, yeah, sorry, 8.
8, then each person drafts.
Right.
And then once each person has 3 cards, you discard the remaining 2, and then the remaining 8, and then you have that 16.
Yeah, so of the 32 cards, you only don't play with 8, but you see them all. And you have the chance of getting, well, potentially any of them.
Neko Harbour heard the fact that you don't like 2-player games where you don't see enough cards.
Maybe,
So they're like, all right, we'll show you all of them.
Right, but the problem then is once you've played the game a couple of times, you're going to get set into a pattern and you're going to, again, it's because it's a puzzle, you're going to learn the best way to do it, and the only then competition is who can draft the right ones in the right order.
It may. I mean, I still try to play around with some little variety,
Yeah.
but for the most part, like you said, you need the fuel because I need to move the boats. Otherwise, I'm not playing the game.
Right. And then you need to upgrade the boat so that
They can do stuff.
they can do stuff, because the higher values are worth more. They actually do give you victory points. And if they're at the end of your row at the end of a round, then they also give you victory points. And if they go to the attractions, the higher numbers are going to secure those victory points.
Kind of like on a bidding war.
Right. It's like a bidding war type thing. So, yeah, there's certain things you just have to do. And for a game that thematically is supposed to be about exploration, you're not really exploring anything thematically or mechanically.
Yeah. And for a game that's supposed to be looking at penguins, penguins are a 2-point card.
Yep. You can get penguins in the game, and they're worth 2 victory points, but otherwise they don't
Play any functional role.
Yeah, you're not. So the attractions don't actually have like different penguins on them. They're different locations. Most of them are harbors, but yeah, you're going to different places, but it's not emphasizing the penguins. So that's unfortunate.
The hub. So
Yes.
each card represents a different hub of your harbor. Now, when a ship goes there, it'll look at the size of that hub, and if the hub is bigger than the ship, all ships that are there, you get a bonus. Pretty neat. Except for the fact that the limit on the size of these things are usually 2.
Yeah,
And
3 maybe.
3 if you're lucky. And once ships equal, you don't get anything.
Right.
So it becomes very hard to start getting that bonus, so you need to upgrade
Right,
it.
because the bonuses, like at the beginning, give you fish. Fish gives you, fish can be used as either as coins or fuel. So it gives you that variety of being able to use it. So you kind of need that for that extra oomph when you're trying to buy something or move a ship. So if you start upgrading your ships too quickly and you move them across your hubs, you're not getting any of these benefits. And the problem is, to upgrade those hubs, instead of playing a card for its ability, you can sacrifice it to upgrade the hub. Most of the times, it's not worth it. There's just not enough cards or time. Maybe if there was another round that you play.
Do get a couple of fish.
You get a couple of fish, but once you spend those fish, it's not like you permanently have 1 fish every turn.
Yeah.
That would have been different.
That also reminds me, you have 8 spaces.
Yeah.
To hold fish, cargo, and permits. I don't know why permits take up that much space.
It's a piece of paper.
But they do. It's a really big piece of paper.
And then cargo is only victory points. So I don't know why that even takes up space, because the penguins and the captain cards are also victory point cards, and they don't take up space.
It's more of another mechanism you have to work around, because remember, this is a logic puzzle.
Yeah. Did we talk about the ship cards being double-sided? No. So
Yeah, this is the other part of the logic.
this is it's its own little mechanism. The ship cards are double-sided, and they add up to 7. So 1 and 6 are back to back, 2 and 5, and then 3 and 4.
And you get 2 copies of each.
And you get 2 copies of each. But to upgrade, then you have to do things in the right sequential order. But if you ever send a ship out to the attractions, you can't get them back. And so if you send out a 3,
You also lost a 4.
you also lost a 4. So that if you need to upgrade, you might have to pay to get several upgrades at a time. And so you can get blocked. And so it's this weird little mechanism that feels really forced in there, unnecessary and frustrating. Like, your ships don't even need to be double-sided.
Sarah doesn't like logic puzzles.
I like logic puzzles.
She doesn't.
I like
She
some
doesn't.
puzzles. This one doesn't work for me.
Right. Because it has to do with timing.
Yeah, I think it's when the logic puzzle has to deal with timing that's really challenging for me.
Yeah.
I think that's covered everything.
Well, that's enough.
I think that's enough. So, Will, then, who could you recommend this game for?
I would say the optimum players for this are the higher player count, so 4 players, who absolutely love timing logic puzzles.
Yep.
And then again, I'd still say this is probably just an okay game for them.
Yeah, it's hard to recommend it for more than a couple of plays. You're going to get more variance at the higher player counts, but people will probably, again, still fall into a pattern of these are the best things for solving the puzzle. And so they're going to compete over getting those things.
Yes. My recommendation is, just like Antoinette's, A Pleasant Journey to Neko. Which is not this game.
Which is not this game, and we still hope to get that at some point.
Yes.
And hopefully that will be what we want it to be.
All right. Ratings?
Yes.
So for our ratings, we each have 1d6 worth of ratings to give. 1 is low, 6 is high. We give a number, reason why. Add them together, see what it rolled for us. Sarah, what did Neko Harbour roll for you?
I was trying to figure out if I could give it a higher rating, but unfortunately I have to give it a 1. It's not the right kind of game for me. Like Will said, I do like some puzzles in games, but this one has a logic puzzle that there's an optimization to it. And if you don't do that, then you're not going to win. So I really don't like that you can't try other things. You can't try a different path. I also don't like the timing mechanisms with the boats and things like that. And there's not enough penguins. So, yeah.
So get off your boat.
Get off my boat.
All right, for me, I'm a little bit nicer. I gave it a 2.
Okay.
I do like some of the mechanisms in here, especially the playing the cards and seeing all the actions trigger. That's a really neat mechanism to see, and it does make me feel more powerful. And I'm pretty good at timing logic puzzles, so that kind of rocked with me. The only problem is I played it now a couple times. I didn't see much difference between play 1 and play 2. So I know there's not going to be a lot of life in Neko Harbour, since we're only really going to play it 2 players if we play it at all.
Yeah.
And since we're not going to keep it for 4 players, it's a 2.
Yeah. My score did improve from the first game to the second, but that's only because I did so terribly.
You actually put a die on the table. You weren't even going to put a die on the table. You're like,
Yeah.
It fell on the floor. What can you do?
What could I do?
But 3 out of 12, probably stay away from this one.
I agree.
Unfortunately.
All
right, that will do it for us. And Sarah.
Yes?
Did you realize Neko is cat in Japanese?
You know, it did sound familiar, I think because I at first was pronouncing it incorrectly. I was calling it Nico because that's, I don't know, just a more English way to say things. But then we heard the correct pronunciation of Neko, and I was like, that sounds very familiar. And so once you said it, I was like, oh, yes, I've heard that before. I have no idea what that has to do with
follow-up question.
Okay.
If that's a Japanese-derived name, why is the instructions in Chinese as the second one? Second set of rule.
I don't know. I didn't do enough research on the creator of this game as to whether they're from China or from Japan, or they made it for their audience who they figured. I don't know. I really don't. I don't know.
This game is just still full of questions.
I guess so.
And we've been rolling with reviews. And remember, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, you can reach out to us on the various social media platforms at
Rolling with 2. That's TWO. We are on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. And on YouTube, please like and subscribe.
And if you have time, check out the other content Nanaman has found for you, because remember, he's rolling with you.